DC and Fortnite have been doing collabs since 2019. While I've added many beloved characters into the game, it still feels like I could add a lot more, which especially didn't help that they kind of just stopped doing it when multiverses was a thing, but that's all kind of worms in of itself, so anyways. Here's 10 of my many picks for what I added to the game. These characters won't really be ranked from least to most wanted, but rather they'll just all be characters I want in general, because after all, the idea of cracking 90s as ambush bug is what I strive for. With that being said, onwards to my rankings. Number 10. John Constantine. Yes, it's pronounced that way, shut up. First appearance Saga of the Swamp Thing, issue 37, created by writer Alan Moore, Steve Buscemi, and John Turtlevin. Constantine's whole deal is essentially a magic user who's sort of a lovable prick who does all sorts of things in the DC universe. I will admit, I haven't really read most of his good comic book appearances, but I did really enjoy how Tom Taylor wrote him in Injustice and DC's, despite the inherent flaws of those books. He's listed low on my list because overall I do like his character, he isn't necessarily my favorite. In fact, I stopped myself at 10 because I want this video to be a more quick production. Overall, John Constantine would be a fun addition to Fortnite, but I'm ashamed to admit I have no idea what the stuff could come of his skin art, but that's okay. Sign off for the comments and tell me what can be added, lol. Number 9. The Red Tornado, also known as Mahunk, who first appeared in... Wait. Not her. Aww. The Red Tornado android first appeared in Justice League of America, issue 64, created in universe by Professor T.O. Morrow, and by writer Gardner Fox and artist Dick Dillon. I said it before, the Red Tornado is an android of sorts, but less like Jim Hammond, but more like an actual robot. Sometimes he's powered by the Tornado Champion of Ran, and the other times he's powered by a Wind Elemental. And then there's this whole pre-Crisis Earth 2 adventure, but that's a whole thing in itself, so it won't bog you down with lore. Whereas I think the Red Tornado is a cool character, I really want to play as him in Fortnite. His glide is definitely easy, having him manifest a tornado when it's activated. You could also have a pickaxe made of quote-unquote wind, that would be nice. Yeah, I really like Red Tornado, he's a cool character. Moving on. Number 8. Liatum, known as Alprat, first appeared in all... Wait a minute, didn't I know you do... Fuck. Liatum, known as Ray Palmer, made his debut in Showcase issue 34, created by writers Julius Schwartz and artist Gil Kane. In terms of DC characters, I always thought the Atom and the Legacy were super overlooked, probably appropriate given that they literally have shrinking powers. So I feel like putting them in Fortnite would work for some pretty good exposure for the characters. Side note, but I found it morbidly funny that initially Alprat didn't even have superpowers, not even related to science changing. Just a short guy beat up people with his fists. This isn't to say that Al is a bad character or I'm trying to diminish him. I'm sure there's some good stuff with him in it. The problem is I haven't really read him yet, so yeah, I'm pretty unfamiliar with the character. Also, I think that if Ray Palmer was to be added to Fortnite, then a cool alternate style for his skin would be his Sword of the Atom look. Sword of the Atom is a 1983 miniseries which sees a hero trapped in a small size in the Amazon rainforest. Also, turns out there's some small alien species there, so he ends up becoming a warrior in this strange new small world. I think the story's a ton of fun, and it'd be awesome if Ray's hypothetical Fortnite skin had this as his style. And I haven't even talked about his official successor yet. Ryan Choi first appeared in Brave New World issue 1, created by writers Grant Morrison, Gail Smith, and drawn by him. I've read a few of Ryan's appearances in the anime, I really liked him in those, so I wouldn't be opposed if he was the one they gave the Fortnite skin to, even though I would still prefer Ray, primarily for the Sword of the Atom style, but yeah, that's just me. Number 7. Vixen, aka Mary McKay, first appeared in Action Comics 521, created by writer Joe Conroy and artist Bob Oskner. Fun fact, she was supposed to debut in her own self-titled series, but that got cancelled due to a little something called the DC Implosion. To make a long story short, DC tried a marketing campaign known as the DC Explosion, in which DC would increase the title output and the page count in the comics, but due to a lot of occurring factors, a lot of the titles ended up being cancelled, Vixen's debut being one of them. So instead of her debut was moved to that aforementioned Action Comics issue. Vixen's ability is also pretty cool. She essentially uses a nifty little thing known as the Tantu Totem, which allows her to essentially connect to the red, which is essentially an energy field which connects to all animal life, which as a result allows Mary to mimic animal abilities, which is really cool in my opinion. Also, I just think she needs great exposure in general, perhaps more than the Atom Legacy, primarily due to DC notoriously they don't really treat their black characters well in general. It's gone to the point where people have begun to nick them the company Discrimination Comics, which I agree with given that I heard that there's literally no black character-led ongoings right now. Overall, I think that Vixen would be a great addition to Fortnite. Yeah. Number 6. Of course, I couldn't do DC characters needed in Fortnite video without him. Dick Grayson first appeared in Detective Comics issue 38, credited mostly by Bill Finger and Bob Kane. He needs no introduction, he's essentially the archetypal psychic, and saying he's not even in the game yet. Given that I assume those who are watching know who he is, I won't go into too much further detail about him, because it's simply the need to. You all know why he's so cool. Also, Disco Wing needs to be an alternate style for the skin. I just love that suit so much. I think it's underrated and it gets too much flack sometimes. I love it. Number 5. There came a time when the old gods died. The brave died with the cunning. The little parish locked about with unleashed evil. It was the last day for them. An ancient era with task and fierce holocaust. The final battle came with the fatal release of indescribable power, which tore into the home of the old gods asunder, split into great halves, and filled the universe with the blinding death flash of all its destruction. In the end, there were 2 giant molten bodies spinning slow and barren, clean up all that had gone before, adrift in the fading sounds of cosmic thunder. Silence closed upon which had happened, a long, deep silence, wrapped in massive darkness. It was this way for an age, then there was new light! The New Gods made their debut of all things, a Jimmy Olsen comic, issue 134 to be particular, written and drawn by Jack the King Kirby. The New Gods are, for all intents and purposes, a cosmic mythology similar in theory to myths like the Greek and Norse mythology. And I think they're super cool. I know I'm technically cheating with the selection, so I'm choosing multiple characters for the segment, but if you don't like it, then get used to it. I'll be doing this a lot. Anyways, my main choices for Fortnite would start with Orion. Orion made his debut in New Gods issue 1. It's created by Jack Kirby. I think he was a pretty cool character because he's essentially Darkseid's son. He's due to a deal between Darkseid and Hi-Fi, had to be traded with Hi-Fi its own son, who I'll get to in a bit. Orion, as a result, has a lot of anger issues, and he struggles to control them. It's a whole nature vs nurture thing, and I think it's really cool. Well, Hi-Fi's son, may you ask? Scott Free, aka Mr. Miracle, first appeared in, what else? Mr. Miracle, issue 1, also written by Jack the King Kirby. As I said before, Scott Free was basically raised in hell, raised by the despicable Granny Goodness, and he was even named Scott Free as a way of mocking him. Despite the abuse that Apocalypse threw at him, Scott remained hopeful and good, and that endeared him to his future wife, Big Barda, who we'll also get to in a bit. Eventually, Scott escaped to Earth. We met a circus performer known as Fadus Brown, who's a escape artist, and Scott's appearance in escaping death traps and Apocalypse impressed the old man. After Brown was murdered, Scott took up the Mr. Miracle identity. As for Scott's wife, Big Barda first appeared in Mr. Miracle issue 4, written and drawn by Jack Kirby. Yeah, he's pretty cool. He was essentially raised and groomed to be the leader of the female Furies, Darkseid's elite squad of female warriors. Eventually, Barda swapped sides and married the aforementioned Scott Free. Barda is essentially the powerhouse of the couple, a warrior woman who's really physically strong. Also, fun fact, Jack Kirby based Barda's relationship off Scott of his own one with his wife. That's really cute and wholesome in my opinion. My final New Gods pick for Fortnite is Light Ray. First debuting in New Gods issue 1 alongside Orion, Light Ray is essentially Orion's closest friend. It provides excellent contrast to both personalities, with Orion being the grumpy and troubled one, and Light Ray being the happy and cheerful one. Also, I just find Light Power to be really cool in my opinion. I don't have much else to say about them, so yeah. I really like these 4 characters, and they'd be a great addition to Fortnite. There's a lot more I can talk about. I don't want this video to go on too long, so yeah, let's move on. Number 4. Ted Cord first made his appearance in Captain Atom issue 83 and was created by Steve Ditko and Gary Frederick. Fun fact, he wasn't even initially a DC character. Rather, a company known as Charlton Comics published Ted's early appearances. DC later acquired the rights to many of the characters and integrated them into their own main universe after Crisis on Infinite Earths happened. After that, he'd make his next major appearance in Keith Giffen, J.M. Medina Matteis, and Kevin McGuire's Justice League International series, a more comedic comic where Ted would often get into schemes of his quote-unquote heterosexual life partner, Booster Gold. Michael John Carter made his first appearance in Booster Gold issue 1 and was created by writer/artist Dan Jurgens. Booster Gold is essentially a quote-unquote fake hero archetype, a guy who started out being a hero for money and fame, but over time generally became a good person and is more heroic now. I think they're both really cool characters in their own right, and when they're really together, they have a really good and funny dynamic. In fact, I already have ideas for Fortnite items for the duo. Skeet, Booster Gold's robot sidekick, could be his back bling, similar type to like Rocket Raccoon, and the Bug, Ted Gold's flying thing, could be a really cool glider. Heck, I was really disappointed that when the Blue Beetle was added to Fortnite, we didn't even get Jaime in the game, and I'd love to talk about him here, but as I said before, we can't really be here for too long, so moving on again. Also, I will forever stand by the fact that they should have been the Valentine's Day skins for this year, damn it. Number 3. Honestly, it's still a baffling move that did his arch rival before him. Sure, I know Black Panther was the one to have that failed cinematic universe around him or something, so I get why. But in fact, that whole era of DC was just really baffling in general. But yeah, Billy Batson first appeared in Wiz Comics issue 2 and was created by writer Bill Parker and writer/artist CC Beck. Like Ted Cord before him, he wasn't even initially published by DC Comics. While his exploits were published by Fawcett Comics, as you can clearly tell, Billy looked a bit like Superman. That is a whole infamous legal battle, which I'm not really going to get into for this video. Point is, I think Billy Batson deserves to be in Fortnite because Superman has like 2 skins, 4 if you include the alternate styles. Well, something that'd be cool, but I don't think would be done in the game, is that hypothetical Captain Marvel skin is a built-in transformation, kind of like Clark Kent and Superman. But I can see why that wouldn't be an option, because Billy is way smaller than the average skin, because he's like 10 years old. He's still older than the average,
something I don't like.
Fan or something, I don't know, it's, pull that one on my ass, sorry. Number 2. Let's be real here, if you know me well and you wonder why I took so long to include this guy on the list. Firestorm first appeared in Firestorm issue 1 and was created by writer Jerry Conroy and artist Al Milgram. Firestorm is unique because he's usually a fusion of 2 dudes, sometimes a fusion between Martin Stein and Ronnie Raymond, other times Jason Rich and whoever you could find on the street at the moment. Usually the dominant personality can be control the body, with the only component of the fusion being doing some backseat driving. Also, I think it's make a great addition to Fortnite in general. Like, you can even make the floating head a back bling. If you even want to like get more niche, you might add the fire elemental look as an alternate style. Overall, Firestorm is also really neat in Fortnite. Like, I really like the character, so yeah, moving on. Number 1. This last one has been overdue for ages now. The Green Lantern Corps first appeared in Showcase issue 22 and were created by John Broome and artist Gil Kane. The Green Lantern Corps are an intergalactic peacekeeping force and are home to a variety of characters which will be added to Fortnite at some point. Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, Joe Millen, fuck it, at the alien members as well, Arnold Crane fucking 90s and Salak. Now my point is that the Green Lantern Corps are pretty much DC Cosmic's main source of exploration, if that makes sense. And a pretty big part of the DC universe, so it's same for ever since 2011's Green Lantern. DC have just decided not to touch that again for adaptations. Prime Villains is a lot to answer for. I don't think the movie was even that bad, just kind of mid, to be honest. Adding them to Fortnite would arguably be a better mainstream exposure from the core of whatever they were doing for the Lantern show. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care for it. I hate that Tom KK King is writing it. It looks boring for a variety of reasons. Being a quote-unquote Earth-based detective drama could work, but from what I've never seen action contracts of Kelly Green, so I'm actually really nervous. Please, I'm sick of the Green Lantern neglect and I want the whole world to know it. But dear viewers, what are your thoughts? If you have anything, comment which DC characters you think should be added to Fortnite. If you liked the video, then make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and all that jazz. Remember, have a good day. In conclusion, AI image generated images really suck balls. I hate them so much.